You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.
Hello, very warm welcome to the show on a Friday night. It's I'm not going to call it a normal Friday night. I'm going to call it a derby weekend. It's a pity there's not a day of the week where it begins with D, so that I can relate the two together, but I can't. So yeah, good welcome to the Scottish Football Zone actually, and so we're here until 7 o'clock tonight. We get the previews coming up of the weekend's action, and also in the second hour, Ethan's been busy this week, apart from co-hosting shows with me, that he's been interviewing somebody from the Scottish Transplant football team, and they've got a game this weekend as well. So we'll play that one out in the second hour of the show. Joined tonight as ever by Ethan and Alex, guys, and Stuart Murphy as well. Hi, Stuart.
Good evening, guys. Good evening, Michael.
Good to see you again, and busy weekend as well. But Ethan, did you get a chance to go back to your bed last night? Because I feel as though I've been with you every night of the week.
Yeah, I know. I love talking about football, Scottish football especially, even when it's been as diabolical as it has been this week in Europe.
And Alex, it's going to be a big weekend for you. First, are you going to the game on Sunday? Yeah.
No, I've not managed to get a ticket despite the recent results. I think it is still going to be a sellout at Ibrox on Sunday. So, but if I tune in and there's a bunch of empty seats, I'll be fuming. But anyway, yeah, I'm not going. But it is a big weekend for Rangers and Celtic, and obviously another big derby to talk about as well.
And
well, there might be I was just going to say there might be a few empty seats, but I don't imagine that'll be to start the match, depending on how obviously the match goes.
A walk out, yeah. And also, Stuart, you haven't got anybody involving this race this week because no European action for Dundee, but a big game on Sunday to talk about as well.
Yeah, well, that's the biggest game of the weekend, isn't it? The one at Dens Park, I would say. Yeah, Derby Day for us anyway. It is the biggest game of the season. Probably the only game that sells out these days. Even when the Old Firm come to town, there are no sellouts for, and we'll know why that probably happens. So yeah, City's buzzing, and we're all good to go on Sunday at 2:00. So the Celtic Rangers game is the first game. That's the warming upper, and then the real top billing comes at 2:00.
Yeah, it's funny that this must be the only derby in the world, Stuart, that the opposing team just walks across the road instead of getting the team bus to the game. I think that I still find it funny actually, and I know that they've asking your manager to get the press conference about that and how he feels about crossing the road to go to the game. So we'll dive into that, and we've got a small matter. Ethan, I know it's been a disappointing week. Well, not because you've spent the whole week with me doing the shows, or maybe it is, I'm not actually sure. But before we get into the Celtic Rangers game on Sunday, there was a small matter of the European draw today for Celtic Rangers and also Aberdeen as well.
Yeah, exactly. And as you said, it was a disappointing week. The worst possible outcome for the Scottish clubs. They all either drop out. Well, they all drop out of competition in some sense. Obviously, the three teams that are in the league phase were guaranteed before anything. And yeah, a mixed draws, I would say. I think Celtic have been handed a difficult draw, but nothing that they shouldn't be able to go there and compete and qualify for at least the playoff round. But I think for both Celtic and Rangers, they should have aspirations of getting into the top 8 of the Europa League phase like Rangers did last season. And I think Rangers have a slightly more favourable draw, probably the most favourable of the three, but still some difficult ties in there.
There you go then. That's the fixtures on screen, and I think that we won't know where the games are getting played even until over the weekend. So maybe by the time that we come on after talking about the small matter of the Glasgow Derby and looking forward to the El Clasico in Dundee at the weekend, we'll have a better idea of where our games are getting played.
Yeah, they said it's Saturday. I think the fixtures are like confirmed. So yeah, that'll be when we find out when each team plays who, and people will be looking to the derby games. Obviously, Celtic and Rangers will be looking to the derby games as to when they are and when they maybe play a team before or after if they've got a difficult away trip. Obviously, there's no trips to Kazakhstan or anything like that for either team, but yes, still obviously massive to see who you play and when you play them.
Is there any standout games to you even at the moment? Looking at that.
I think they're all difficult games. You've got 4 teams there that were in the Champions League along with Celtic last season. Feyenoord, who Celtic lost to in the Champions League and won at home against a few seasons ago, but obviously Roma's the standout tie, the big club from Italy. Gasperini's the manager there now. He was the manager of Atalanta last season when Celtic played them and got a successful point on the road in Bergamo. Obviously Lewis Ferguson, the captain of Bologna as well. I'll welcome his dad and uncle's favourite team over to Italy. So yeah, some interesting games in there, and there's some old Celts returning to Celtic Park as well. Vasilius Barkas, the old goalkeeper, is the FC Utrecht goalkeeper, and Gustav Lagerbielke, who left this summer, is Braga's central defender. So yeah, there's some interesting ties there and some difficult ones, but Celtic should be looking to go through with absolutely no excuses.
Stuart, what do you think of Celtic this week? Obviously, quite an embarrassing score for Scottish football, but what do you make of the draw for Celtic in the Europa Cup?
Well, going back to the first part of your question, which was about what did they make of this week, I mean, it's a bit of a reality check in a lot of ways, I think, for both clubs. Certainly for Rangers, that was a mauling that they took. To be 5 down at half time for any team associated with Rangers Football Club is just not acceptable. But your question was about Celtic, first of all, and that reality check, I think, Michael, is important because perhaps that's the level that we should be looking at, right, in Europa rather than Champions League. I mean, failing to get past the opponents that they had in the week there, and it wasn't just a case of they didn't get past them. It was, there's a new expression getting used in the media now. It was blunt. There was nothing doing. It was only towards the end of the match, and I caught a bit towards the end where they were pushing quite a wee bit, but it was desperation rather than any method. And it goes back to the recruitment, and it goes back to the spend, and it goes back to all the things that have been talked about in the week. But they are where they are, and I know they've opened the biscuit tin, I think, in the last few hours, haven't they? I think there's at least one coming in, maybe 2. I'm not sure. I've been away this afternoon, but I know there's potentially movement before the window closes. But that should have been done. That should have been done weeks ago. And reality now is that they're in a much less lucrative set of matches. But a set of matches, I think, that are more competitive, actually, than if they were straight into Champions League. So I'm looking at that, looking at Roma, cracking tie, and then there's an old relationship with Feyenoord, isn't there? So they can rekindle that from the final in 1970. So plenty to look forward to. They just got to put all that behind them. Both clubs do. They need to get rid of that. And probably Sunday's game's ideal in a way because there's not any time to feel sorry for themselves and lick their wins. They've just got to get stuck in and, we'll forget about a ball on Sunday maybe and just get stuck in about each other. And then by the end of the afternoon, we'll have a clearer idea where where Russell Martin stands in his forward look as a coach, as a head coach at Rangers as well.
So that's a draw for Celtic. What are you expecting from Celtic on Sunday going to Ibrox? Ethan, sorry.
Yeah, I think it's a really difficult one to call because although Celtic have been good domestically this season, they haven't been perfect, not started as well as they did last campaign. You can't ignore the two embarrassing scorelines against Kairat Almaty and the lack of being able to create any clear-cut chances. Of course, Dyson Maeda had one at the end of each 90 minutes, but they just didn't create enough sustained pressure on the opponents, and you'd imagine Rangers will be up for the game regardless of what the players' thoughts on the manager is, regardless of what the fans' thoughts on the manager is. It's a derby and it's bragging rights against your rivals, so it kind of all goes out the window really in these games, and form, it doesn't matter as the cliche goes. I think back to the perfect example last season when Rangers come into one of the derby games under strength, loads of injuries. The defence was decimated with players missing, and they came and it was at Ibrox and they beat Celtic 3-0 and nobody seen that coming. So no matter how bad Rangers were the other night and no matter how poor Celtic have been, it's just about who turns up the better team on the day, as we've seen through this fixture in the past. I've been sitting on the fence, so my prediction to give it away early is a 1-each draw because I don't think there's much quality in the sides at the minute, and I just don't see Celtic going there and winning, but I also don't see Rangers playing so poorly that Celtic win. But I can see it going either way and really easily. But yeah, I'm sitting on the fence and being boring.
It's funny, Alex. I was speaking to somebody during the week, and I think even though Celtic and Rangers fans don't like to share a pint, never mind 50 pence, I think they've got something in common on Sunday where they're going to shout, sack the board to each other in unison.
Yeah. I saw a funny tweet earlier. Somebody said it's going to be weird. Rangers fans are going to be chanting for Russell Martin to go, and the Celtic fans are going to be chanting sack the board. So it's going to be a pretty toxic atmosphere, I think, for both sides. I just on Ethan's prediction there, I don't know if I can take another 1-1 draw, no matter who's it's against. 3's enough for me. I don't want to see any more this season. It's becoming Rangers' trademark result. It is certainly an interesting dynamic going into the game, having both sets of fans furious for different reasons. Celtic don't think they're as good as they should be, and the Rangers similar, but also much lower down in that kind of order right now, because Rangers are way below the level that they should be. Celtic are at the level probably that Rangers would want to be at right now in terms of just winning domestic games. So it is an interesting dynamic going into the game.
I think Alex was discussing there one of the points that I think I actually seen Celtic and Rangers fans arguing about who's worse going into this game. There was Celtic fans saying, we're going to lose this game, and Rangers fans going, no, we are going to lose this game. Actually, it's something you don't usually see often, but that's the kind of state that both teams go into this match.
Yeah, I mean, Stuart, it's quite interesting because obviously the build-up to the kind of like Old Firm game or Glasgow Derby or what you want to call it this week, it's good. It's basically like you get the build-up from Sunday, kind of like Sunday morning at 5 to 12 as the teams run out of Ibrox, but it's a weird build up to the game because take Europe out of the equation for the minute. Both sides hasn't started on kind of like top form, you would say.
No, well, that's for sure. Ethan talked about a 1-1 draw, and as he was saying that, I was thinking, both of them kind of really thought to lose the game. I know that Alex going to be happy with another 1-1 draw because the pattern's emerging for that. But you know what I think the problem for me is for Rangers is that despite Celtic not really firing on all cylinders, it's the chaotic nature of the Rangers defending an organisation that would worry me if going into that match, because again the other night, I mean, it was like, I think the four of us could have scored on the other night. I mean, I think honestly, no, that's brutal. That's a brutal judgment on it, and I get that, but there was a few of the goals there that were comical in terms of their defending, and that's been a pattern that's been the case all the way through. I mean, when my team went there in the second 1-1 draw, I mean, we sat in for odds, but we still created quite a few chances, and every set piece was a problem. Again, they looked really vulnerable for crosses and stuff the other night. So, despite Celtic being poor, I'm not sure it'll be a draw. I think Celtic will probably have enough, unless Rangers can somehow manage to get their act together organisationally, because I think that's crucial. They surely can't defend as badly as they've been defending, surely.
You say that, but I've said that every single game, and it's just got worse and worse at the back. And that's a great point, and I think that's something I've been shouting about for the past few weeks. That the organisation at the back is practically non-existent. The spaces are mental to be given that kind of space to teams, and like you said, really vulnerable from high balls into the box. Happened against Club Brugge. It's happened against Dundee. It happened against Alloa, and it's it is really, really concerning, and that could be one of the major problems, because we speak about Celtic maybe haven't they've been perhaps a little bit toothless in recent matches, especially against Kairat Almaty. But if they're given that kind of space to operate in, they will surely punish Rangers, because even though Rangers lost 6-0, you could also make the argument that Jack Butland was one of the best players on the night, and he conceded 6 goals. That's just the amount of chances that Rangers were giving up. So it could, if Celtic exploit those spaces, it really could go the other way.
And Club Brugge, I think there was debate on whether Club Brugge took their foot off the gas in the first leg. In the second half, they definitely took their foot off the gas in the second half of the second leg. And as Alex said, it could have been really anything they wanted it to, and that's concerning, because defensively, Rangers have been awful. Some of the worst defending that we've seen in general in Scottish football, never mind for a Rangers team. And it has got the billing of the team who can't defend to the team who can't score, because Celtic just do look so blunt in front of goal. And I know they've scored enough goals domestically to get through the 3 league games and the cup game against Falkirk, but when it came to an opposition who was very well drilled and set up, they struggled. And Kairat were just no disrespect to them, they obviously done well, but they're not the quality of team or anywhere near close to that. They should be beating Celtic. Rangers have got players there that, if they can set up their defensive structure a bit better, then maybe they have a chance, but there's no evidence to say that that's going to happen on Sunday.
Alex, Graham's asking you a question. Do you think Tavernier will start the game on Sunday?
I think he should. I think the way he's been treated, along with all the talk coming out about Nicholas Raskin, who, by the way, despite not getting games, has been called up to Belgium again, is really poor from Russell Martin. The stubbornness that he's displayed to keep playing a right back who is my dad listed it off the other night, and I thought it was and I thought that it's quite a sad state of affairs, but it's pretty accurate. He's not fast enough. He's not strong enough. He's not good enough on the ball. He's not a good enough one-on-one defender. So Max Aarons, I don't think he should start. He let the team down. by basically giving up and just hauling down the Club Brugge player. And I think if he is given the nod over the club captain again, I think, I don't know how it's possible because of how low he is in my estimation right now, but I think Russell Martin would go even further down in my estimation. I think Tavernier should start. However, I'm not sure because we've seen that Martin is, stubborn in his choices, no matter how bad they are. Joe Rothwell's another one who just keeps getting put in that midfield, even though he's been probably one of Rangers' worst players as well.
I think you're making a couple of really good points there, and something struck me when you were talking there as well, that the player refusing to go on the park last Sunday, Rothwell's inclusion, Aaron's continual inclusion, and you think to yourself, well, if the club captain's on the bench, and I know it's well documented that people think he can't defend properly, etc., etc., but I mean, he's been a mainstay in that team now for years, and I'm sure he should be a first pick. Out of that lot, he should be a first pick. And I think that I'm starting to get the feeling that the dressing room might be lost. A couple of things happening there, and if the club, what he really wants to do, if he's wanting to save himself, is to get people that want to put the jersey on back on the pitch on Sunday. And I think that Tavernier is definitely one of those that would give 150% if he was back on. One, he should be on, and two, he's got a point to prove now, isn't he? Because he needs to start every week.
That's the thing that's a good point you make, because Max Aarons is a player that came from down south. He's only on loan. His action the other week to hold down the Club Brugge attacker would say to me that he's sort of given up on it, and he's not someone you want to be fighting for your starting 11. Whereas I think regardless of James Tavernier and his relationship with Russell Martin, he's going to go out and give his all for Rangers Football Club, as he has done for a decade now. So I think you can rely on him to turn up, and I think he should start, but whether he will do is another question. And I think it's a problem across the whole defence, because not only are some of the defenders, quite frankly, I don't think good enough for Rangers, they are, none of them, including Jack Butland, who has been brilliant, are of the style that Russell Martin wants to play, because even domestically you see that Jack Butland sometimes struggles with playing out from the back the way that Russell Martin wants to do. A brilliant shot stopper, but he's trying to play a style of football and he just doesn't have the players to do it, and there's no kind of surprise that they're maybe not buying in and he's losing the dressing room.
So Alex, let's have a look at the Europa Cup draw for Rangers today. There we go. Any kind of games kind of like spring out at you there? It's going to be, obviously it's going to be a tough test anyway, no matter who you get in Europe, but maybe Porto, Roma?
Yeah, well, obviously Roma and Braga making two separate trips to Glasgow, so that's quite interesting. Braga, of course, have become quite familiar with Rangers over the years, so I feel like that's a game you can look forward to. So I'd say, Roma going away to Porto is obviously an interesting game to look at. And the rest of the fixtures, I think Genk will be a difficult fixture as well. Obviously, Rangers hosting a Belgian team for the second time this season. Hopefully, it goes a little bit better. I think if it's a big if Rangers get their act together, they could do really well with this draw and perhaps make the top 8. But it's a massive if, because the state they're in right now. But if you look at those fixtures on the face of it, Rangers should be getting points from 3 points, I'd say, from at least 5 or 6 of them, I would say. But just something that popped into my head when Ethan used the phrase something about range. That's something you shouldn't see from any defence, never mind a Rangers defence. And for some reason, this popped into my head. It was like all the Man United pundits going, "This is Manchester United we're talking about here." And I think if Rangers keep going in the way that they've gone in the past few years, I don't know if we're already there. Maybe I'm living in a bit of delusion, but I think Rangers are threatening to sort of go into that sort of realm that Manchester United are in, where we'll maybe be 5 years down the line and people will be saying, "Oh, but this is Rangers, but they've not won a league title," or blah blah blah, and the form continues on. Maybe I'm being a bit of a doomsayer there, but I think that's just what popped into my head when Ethan mentioned that.
Well, as I'm
sorry, do your comments not kind of reflect really though that cloud that's hanging over the place? So if I'm thinking about how they ended last season at home, for instance, you really need to be winning. Ibrox should be a place that teams are terrified to go, and right now it doesn't look like that. It looks like any fixture involving Rangers at home, anybody's looking at that thinking, "Do you know what? We've got a chance here." I mean, Arlo pushed them. I mean, arguably we should have won. Dundee, I'm talking about when we were there. And if you go back to the end of last season, St Mirren, Motherwell, I can't remember, somebody else won there as well. And we've got the infamous Queen's Park episode as well, haven't we? We've got that. So
yeah,
there's a pattern with different teams because there's different personnel in there. So it's like there's a cloud there. And with a new manager, it should be completely different. It should be, we're up for it. We're excited about the future. We've got injecting a bit of passion and energy in there, but it feels flat. It just feels flat.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I think I said risky during the weeks as well, Alex. Let's carry on with Russell Martin and his hairdo at the moment as well. But why not just kind of take a bit of a gamble on Barry Ferguson and say at the end of the season, right, you're going to get the job because obviously, like, you're a Rangers man, you can get them up for games. I mean, they went to Celtic Park and beat Celtic, So why not stick with him instead of going from a random guy, you would say, from the outside that has not got any manager experience as well. I mean, you could say that about Barry Ferguson, but I think the difference between Ferguson and Martin is he knows Rangers, he loves Rangers.
Yeah, just on that, I think it's all to do with the new owners and wanting to come in and make their mark, bring in their guy. I think from the start when Barry Ferguson was appointed, we all knew he was just kind of there to babysit. Perhaps, just try and get a good feeling about the club again and get the players playing fairly well towards the end of the season. And, we had good moments there. Rangers made it to a Europa League quarter-final. They obviously beat Celtic at Parkhead. There were some bad moments in there as well from Barry Ferguson, but I think that was perhaps due to the sort of squad that he was inheriting. I think one of the things that he said and the rest of his coaching staff said was essential for them when they came in was they were just trying to get the players to enjoy playing football again because when they came into the place, they could feel that it was really a depressing atmosphere. So, but I think going back to what I was saying, I think we all knew from the moment Barry Ferguson was appointed that he was, there to sort of kind of babysit the squad. So I think it is all down to the new owners and wanting to bring in their guy.
Let's have a wee look at the quotes. First of all, Russell Martin. I mean, to be honest with you, you could actually repeat his press conference from day one because he comes away with some cracking quotes as well and kind of like sound bites. And I'm loving this as a kind of member of the media and all that. He says we have to be really driven and focus. He says we have to be really driven and focused. it's a good opportunity to put things right if we beat them. Now, the only thing I would say about that kind of quote, and I would take out a lot of quotes, but that kind of stood out for me, if Alex as well, was that he's coming away with that, right? To put things right as well. But I'm sorry, you had opportunities to do that against Motherwell, St Mirren, teams like that,
Yeah, I think he uses these kind of buzzwords in every kind of press conference that I've seen, focused and driven and all that, and an opportunity to put things right. But I don't know, because if Rangers do beat Celtic at the weekend, I doubt that the outside feeling will be, oh, this is it, this is the catalyst, because I think on the evidence, we've seen too much of the bad. So if we see a bit of good on Sunday, it will be, we'll be buzzing for the time. But I think it's just papering over the cracks. And Rangers, especially over the last week, there's been a lot of rumours and talk about internal issues. I mentioned Nicholas Raskin earlier. He's been left out of the preparations for Sunday, and he's training with Leon King and Clinton Enciala and those players who have been effectively exiled. So he might not even be there on after the transfer window on Monday. Obviously, Nicholas Raskin's dad came out in the media the other day and was, going after Russell Martin. It's becoming comical at Rangers, and I think that phrase "put things right." I think he's done a lot of irreparable damage already in his very short time, and I think a win would only be papering over the cracks. And Stuart mentioned it earlier, there's a feeling that he's lost the dressing room already, and I just feel like a win doesn't really change much. Obviously, it changes in terms of the table. It brings them closer to Celtic. You get their first domestic win, but for like the atmosphere and the way the club should be operating, I'm not so sure.
Before we touch upon what Brendan Rodgers said about the game, I'm going to bring this point up for Graham as well. Basically, I never saw a comment before I can ask you that question about Russell Martin. But as a former chairman of a football club, so Dundee, back in the day, Stuart, right? And you heard a manager coming out with, like, say, Paul Hartley, coming out with comments like that. Are you going to hide Dundee a table and say, "Oh no, why did you say that? That's a PR disaster"? Now I know that's not your job, and I know you've got a media, a PR officer working for Dundee and all the rest of it. But I mean, surely it should be running these kind of things past the PR manager before he sits down with the media either on a Thursday or a Friday or maybe after the game as well.
Well, it's funny because we talked about this the last time I was on. That would be the clever way of doing it, especially if the team, whichever team it is going through a bad spell. Got to be careful what you say about how it lands externally and the mood that then creates, because the noise just reverberates back in, it just rebounds back in. But you stumbled over something here by accident there, Michael. You used Paul Hartley as an example. Now, it was after my time at Dundee, but we lost on a Friday night 7-0 at home to Aberdeen, and it was catastrophic, right? It was just catastrophic. Considine scored a hat-trick. That's what we're talking about here, right? That's what happened that evening, right? It was 7-0. I left at 4 and I never leave. I was in the pub and I can hear the cheers to Aberdeen fans, but because it's a short walk up to Fru's for the stadium, and I never leave before the end. But funnily enough, after that, in the post-match, the manager actually said, "I don't know what to do anymore." He actually said that, and then he was removed, right? So I think what happens with these people is that the difference with Russell Martin, I think, is that, you need to forgive me here, but he comes across as being quite arrogant. So I think he's got a lot of self-belief there that's probably not based on much, but he certainly has it. And so some of this will be Teflon. It'll not be sticking. It'll be banging off him, right? But there's a difference between hacking off 7,000 or 8,000 Dundee fans that have turned up at a game on a Friday night against Aberdeen and hacking off 40,000 people on a regular basis, because at some point that pressure is going to tell. And we talked about Russell Martin's mum the other week, and I think what we should do is we should get Nico Raskin's dad and Martin's mum on the podcast, and I think that would be very entertaining. I think that would sell a few bits of copy, Michael.
Yeah, clickbait as well, but yeah, no, exactly. And from a Celtic point of view, Ethan Brendan Rodgers said today, it's a game we want to win, no matter if it's at Parkhead or Ibrox or Hampden. We still want to beat them. It's always a tough game when you play Rangers, and I presume when he says play the Rangers at Ibrox, because they've got the majority of the supporters on Sunday.
Yeah, and although I think we all understand that for the managers, Russell Martin needs the result more, because Brendan Rodgers, despite a lot of criticism for how he set the Celtic team up the other night, I would say he's in a lot more of a safe position with the fans than Russell Martin is. But Celtic have not beat Rangers for a little while now, and that'll be something that the Celtic fans will expect, especially with how poor Rangers have been, not just on the European stage the other night, but domestically. They'll expect their team to go over to Ibrox and get the job done and really solidify themselves at the top of the league. Obviously, they're quite a bit ahead of Rangers already, but I think 9 points would be a massive statement before the end of August. But I was just going to touch on Russell Martin's one of his answers that Graham referenced to in the chat. I think it was Tom English that asked the question: What improvements have you seen at Ibrox or at Rangers since you've been here? And he said, well, you would have to speak to people inside the club. I think he's inside the club, so I really don't know. Obviously, I think we're looking at it and saying there isn't any improvements. That's why you can answer the question. But yeah,
it looks like a massive regression. Yeah. And that's saying something, considering the state Rangers were in.
Yeah, I think that's the truth. And a lot of Russell Martin's pre-match, post-match stuff are righting the wrongs. We'll make sure that we won't make the same mistakes, but they keep making the same mistakes. There's nothing Russell Martin says is I will, we will. It's just, I don't know. There just seems such a disconnect between.
Well, that,
as well.
Yeah, so that's a good point that you've made, because I haven't heard, maybe I've missed it, guys, but I haven't heard Russell Martin coming out and say, yeah, that result in performance is on me.
Yeah, I don't think he has. I don't think he ever, unless I'm wrong, I might be wrong, but he barely.
I've not heard him say anything along those lines.
He barely says the word I.
He always slams the players.
Mm-hmm.
It's always we. It's never I will take responsibility or I will do this. It's usually we will do this. We need
the royal we.
Well, do you know what's quite interesting about this, right? If you go back to that first match against Motherwell, when he sorted the players after the match, right? And I thought that was a mistake, right? I thought that was a mistake to do that. Other people, there was a kind of mixed response to that, wasn't there? There was a few folk thought, well, it's quite refreshing here because he's setting the standard, he's gone in, he's saying it's not acceptable, etc., etc. But he may well have lost the dressing room that day. That might have actually done him in, because there was a few players, because he actually singled players out that had done well rather than the ones necessarily had done badly. But then he dropped people directly after that, so it was clear who he thought was culpable. So for me, I'm not sure that tactic, it should stay in the dressing room. If you could never really imagine Sir Alex Ferguson rubbishing the Manchester United players in public, could you? He did it once at Aberdeen years ago, and he learned from that after a cup final. Anything that happens in the dressing room stays in the dressing room. You don't go public with that. You just don't do it. So I wonder, in retrospect, if it was a big own goal that day after the match at Fir Park.
Yeah, and that sort of Alex is a perfect person you mentioned, because I seen someone saying, I think it was the great Super Scoreboard pundit Gordon Dalziel that was saying that that's what Sir Alex done at Manchester United. There was a drinking culture at the club at the time, and it was some big figures in the dressing room that he wanted to get rid of, but he sort of, rather than openly condemning them and saying that he wanted to get rid of them, he sort of slipped them out the back door before they knew it, and they were still obviously fighting for him and playing for him on the pitch, but when he got them out the door, then he could really build a team of players that he wanted. Obviously, Russell Martin's went about it differently, as we've heard the reports of the players that are maybe not in his plans, like James Tavernier, Nicholas Raskin, Hamza Agaman, and the players that he's rotated out after criticism. So it's easy to see that the dressing room could have turned on him that day, and I don't think it's turned back since.
And that's still insane to me, the three names that you reeled off there. Three of Rangers' best players last season, absolutely mental. Obviously, I think Agaman had his heart set on a move away. So, maybe you couldn't blame Russell Martin for that. But the other two, certainly, I feel like he's pushed them. He's pushed them a bit too far. I don't think Tavernier's one that would go in the huff and try and get out, because I just feel like he's an upstanding professional. He's been at Rangers for too long to take that attitude. But Nicholas Raskin, he's a young player. He's got his career ahead of him. He's got a lot of interest. So if the current manager's not treating him very well and arguing with his dad, why wouldn't you turn around and go, well, stuff you then. I've got interest from the Premier League. I'll just go there.
So score predictions on Sunday. I think Ethan's still sitting on the fence. I'm not actually sure. I hope it doesn't rain outside. Because you'll be there till 2:00 on Sunday. Alex, what about you? I have a funny feeling you. Well, I haven't really actually. Yeah, aye. Okay, Alex, what give you your prediction?
Okay, just quickly though, Michael, is that Ethan taking your spot on the fence? Because you're on there quite a lot, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I was a sub. Ethan's my sub. It's time for me to get in the house for a wee while, but I've spent the past couple of weeks on that fence. Time to get in the house and get the heating on. I feel.
Yeah. Well, I said it on mine and Ethan's own podcast when we were talking about it. I think I'm going to go with 3-2 to Rangers.
Oh.
Very optimistic, very hopeful.
Well,
to put into perspective, I think Alex said Rangers would win 3-0 the other night in Bruges. So, so there's not really much credit.
Nobody put their coupon on based on my knowledge. Please gamble responsibly. No, I just think this season's been so dire, so I'm just trying to cling on to any kind of blind optimism, any kind of delusion that I can possibly cling on to, just for my own mental health, I think.
Just keep running this comment up there from Paul. Just popping in for a bit. I'm away now because you're speaking about the big two in Glasgow. No, we're not. We're going to talk about the Dundee derby in a wee minute or two, so you can come back in if you want. Stuart, you don't really care about this game on Sunday, but I'll ask you anyway. What's your prediction?
I think Celtic will win on Sunday. I'm afraid that for Alex, I think it'll be 2-0, I would say, on Sunday.
At least it's not a 1-1 draw.
Yeah. Well, if you spend getting more time with me and Ethan, you'll if you want to sit in the fence as well, it's a nice fence that we're building outside, as well. So that's Rangers and Celtic high noon on Sunday, as well. Let's go up to Dundee for another derby at 2:00, and I was speaking to Stuart yesterday again. I'm happy to see this game being on the telly right after the game. I think it's on Premier Sports on Sunday at 2:00. The game's at Dens Park. I don't want to tempt fate, Stuart, right? But I couldn't believe what I saw when I was doing my notes for the show. Dundee hasn't won at home against Dundee United since 2016.
Well, I think we knocked them at the cup last January, mate. So I'm going to take that one as a home win. Yeah, but your league comment might be accurate. But having said that, Michael, there's a tradition in Dundee derbies about the away team tending to do a lot better. I'm not sure what those stats look like for us, but we won there 4-2 last season, and actually by half time I think it was 3-1 with two arguably onside, offside VAR goals. It could have been 5-1 at half time, which was dreamland for us on the day. The thing about Sunday is that two completely different teams. For anybody that's ever attended a Dundee derby or hasn't attended a Dundee derby, I should say, I think you'd be quite surprised at the ferocity of the match in terms of the atmosphere when it starts. So we've got this thing about it being the friendly derby, and everybody goes to the pub together beforehand and walk down together and hold hands and go skipping down the road before they go to the game, all this sort of stuff, right? And there's an element of that that's true. So on Sunday, I'll be watching the Celtic Rangers game in the pub as far as I can watch it before I'll need to leave to go down. And there will be a mix of fans. But I can tell you that when the game starts, it's a completely different kettle of lobsters, as my dad used to say, right? It's crazy stuff. Problem on Sunday is it's two new teams. And predicting that is going to be really difficult, because you would have said earlier on in the season that Dundee looked well adrift in terms of their prep, their recruitment, etc. That ship's kind of steadied a wee bit. Folk aren't quite saying that so much and ridiculing the manager and his comments that he made. That's kind of calmed down a wee bit. And Dundee United have had a busy schedule. Started off struggling past the team from Luxembourg, really good performances against Rapid Vienna, but they've conceded, I think, is it 7 goals in 3 games, or I can't remember how many it is, but they've conceded quite a bit. So how the folk react to that atmosphere on Sunday will be quite intriguing to see how the players do react to that. We're a lot more physical in terms of physicality in the team than we've ever been. So we've not got the Lyle Camerons running about and some of the creativity that he would have provided. But by the same token, we're a big organised team now, and it doesn't feel like anybody is going to roll over us as easily as what people might have predicted. What United will bring on Sunday, I've got no idea. I've got no idea what will happen on Sunday. So when you get to prediction time for me, who knows? I've got no idea.
Sorry to just jump in there. When Stuart said 7 goals in the last 3 games, I saw Ethan mentally calculating it in his head and then nodding, so that must have been correct.
No, right. I actually forgot one of the games. I know they conceded 2 against Falkirk, 3 against Hearts, then they didn't play that weekend just gone there, did they?
No.
And then
Well,
they obviously lost in the cup. So yeah, 7 goals.
Yeah, 7 goals. That's
So,
not to say that that'll be
approval.
the pattern moving forward. I'm not sure. I mean, there was some decent opposition in there, right? Hearts and in Europe especially. So again, it will be a blood and snotters on Sunday. It will be, because I think that there seems to be a siege mentality at Dundee that's been created by all the bad press that's been going on from the start of the season. And the players are reacting to the manager. They are, unlike what we've talked about Rangers, they seem to be building a bit of squad there. So, yeah, we're not in such a pessimistic doom and gloom mood on the blue half of Tannadice Street.
I was just going to ask you, Stuart, before the guys come in there, but like, I know that when you won the show at the beginning of the season, and we were talking about kind of Elvis and all that, but like when, and Alex, it's not going to like what I'm going to see here, but when they went to Ibrox and got a result, say what you want about Rangers, awful bad and different that day, but the key need that result to win over the majority of the Dundee fans.
Yeah. I think what's happened, I think that game was a watershed moment, because what it did was it kind of turned the public perception about Presley around to, and he'll use it to whatever way he wants, but I certainly wouldn't want anybody to feel sorry for me in a public position. But folks started to look at that and think, he's getting a really hard time. There's a lot of disrespectful comments being made about him. And he created some of that, obviously, but some of the interviews that he had. But, and it's a brutal world that we live in, the football world. And I know that more than anybody, given my time at Dens those years ago. But by the same token, I think there's behaviours, and I think that giving him such a hard time so early and dismissing his ability as a manager, because he's sent teams out now, and they've been really organised, and that's something I've got to say under Tony Dock that often looked like it was absent. Although I like Tony Dock and there was entertainment all the way, some of the capitulations when we were goals ahead and all that sort of stuff was unacceptable. This team doesn't feel like they could be rolled over in that same way. It's early days, though. It's early days.
Yeah, and Dundee, I would agree that Stephen Presley got obviously a very hard time. I'm not going to lie, I joked about his comments. I think we all did, especially the if you're looking for a manager who wins things or whatever he said. But no, you make a good point. He was put in a tough situation, especially with the squad. They obviously lost a lot of players to their contracts being run down. They didn't bring in suitable replacements, but they've obviously got a few players in the door over the last few days, the last few weeks. Wesley and Jan Danda come to mind, and I know there was another signing the other day. So they're building a bit of a squad, and as you said, the siege mentality is definitely something you could see there. They obviously go to Rugby Park, which isn't always an easy place to go and get another point to follow up on the excellent point at Ibrox. So yeah, a really good, well, not really good, but a decent turnaround from Stephen Presley as to where it was and what it was looking like. And for Dundee United, as a bit of the unknown, because they brought in so many players. Their performances have been a little bit inconsistent. They were absolutely brilliant against Rapid Vienna across the two legs, but in domestic football, they've left a little bit to be desired with the performances and the defending, especially going out the League Cup to Kilmarnock and then drawing at Falkirk and blowing that lead at home to Hearts.
Alex?
Yeah. I'd agree with that. Most of that, what Ethan said, and Dundee this season have surprised me. I think with obviously as well, I'll admit it. I was joking at the start of the season. Like Ethan said, I think we all were but Stuart sort of alluded to it when he was talking about making his points, and I think I've seen a lot of stuff, a few reports. The players have seemed to have really taken to Stephen Presley, and perhaps internally there's a good feeling around what they can achieve this season. And if they display that on the pitch and start getting results, it will spread throughout the support, and they could have an opportunity to build something and getting a win against, well, I would say city rivals, but street rivals, would be massive in that right before the international break as well. And as Dundee United didn't play their league game due to the postponements, Dundee have an opportunity to go 4 points ahead of them as well. So I'm sure there'll be some bragging rights up for grabs in the pub and in the schools and stuff like that. So it could be a really feel good atmosphere for Dundee going into this international break. And see, to be honest, I keep doubting them every turn, but I'm starting to get on side a little bit, and with the weaknesses in this Dundee United team and the sort of defensive issues, and if Dundee can keep that kind of organised kind of backline and make it difficult for Dundee United to break through, I feel like they could exploit them and perhaps get a victory here, because Dundee United, although they have scored goals, they've conceded a lot. We've mentioned it, and I think they're a team that are still settling in. We've mentioned about the new players Dundee have brought in. Dundee United have had a massive turnover as well. So I think it's a really interesting game to look at, because Stuart said it as well. You don't know what's going to happen. Although I will say, for the first time this season, I'm leaning towards Dundee.
Oh, wow, there you go. Huh? Who knew? It's been a tough week for you, Alex. I think it's starting to show me.
I see Alex. I don't know if you can see it in the background, Stuart, but Alex says, is that a season ticket you've got now for Dundee? I don't know if you can see that in the background.
It might be better. If Dundee win and Rangers lose, Dundee will be ahead of them, so it might be better viewing for me this season.
Never thought of that. There you go.
What? Stephen Presley was talking yesterday. He said, "I'm excited, but it's going to be a great game." So we have enjoyed working as a team this week, and I think that's the difference, Stuart, as well, when you get a good feel good factor in your squad as well, because there's nothing worse than coming up kicks in and then saying, I don't really want to be here, but but it feels as though that Stephen Presley is trying to, hopefully me and Alex isn't building Dundee up for a great following Sunday, but that they're working together, and they're kind of maybe building something special up there.
Well, that's what we're certainly hoping. It's early days now. We wouldn't get carried away. We're only a few games into the season, but certainly not developing in the way that most people predicted it would. And Alex makes a great point. I mean, if we win on Sunday and create that gap over Dundee United, that game in hand they've got is against Aberdeen, and Aberdeen are going to have to start winning at some point. So when that game finally happens, it's not exactly a 3 points in the bag stuff for Dundee United. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Sunday. Season ticket on my phone, Fru's Bar for the Celtic Rangers game beforehand, and then a quick run down the road and take my seat, and we'll see what happens. You want my prediction, Michael, before I've got to jump?
Yep. Although don't jump before Sunday's game. You know.
That's it. That's the local joke here. Is you know they've closed the bridge again because there's too many Dundee United fans jumping. You know. So I think we'll win on Sunday. Carrying on the feel good factor, and I think we'll win 2-0. So that's 2-0 predictions I've made for the weekend's games.
2-0. Alex, I mean, you've got to go for Dundee now. By the way, there's no coming back from this.
I'm gonna one up you. I'm gonna go 3-0 to Dundee.
Oof. I would maybe say Ethan's going to go for maybe a 2-8 draw. I'm not sure. Still sitting on that fence outside. You better come in. October's coming around September's coming around the corner. Dark nights and stuff like that. So yeah. But before you go, Stuart, Jim Goodwin, I know you always love to hear from Jim Goodwin. He says that we are all looking forward to this game. There's a lot on the line, but hopefully we can get the win. And I suppose that you'll say to that, aye, right, Jim?
Well, actually, I think he's done a really good job there, to be fair. I was lucky enough to be at hospitality at the Celtic St Johnstone League Cup game last year at Hampden, and he was sitting next to me with his wee boy, adorned with Celtic scarf, by the way. And he's a decent guy. He's certainly a different manager than he was a player. Can't remember how many red cards he got in his career, but I tell you, it was more than 2. But no, he's a decent guy, and I think that he's had a hard job in the summer, recruiting the way he had to. So, I mean, I don't wish ill on them, except when we're playing them. I'm not sure I'm telling the truth there, but I've just saying it for the purposes of the podcast. But I think he's probably got a decent squad together there, but we'll just need to see. They're so unpredictable, and I just hope that doesn't work against us on Sunday.
There you go. Do you want to have what Ethan's saying before you go? Maybe it's that fence again. I don't know, Ethan.
No, it was a helicopter this time.
Oh no, I meant the score on Sunday. Sorry.
Oh, I thought you said the feds.
No, the fence.
Oh, sitting on the fence. Yeah, to be fair, I want to sit on the fence for this game because, but I can't sit on the fence for both of them, can I? So, yeah, I'm going to go with a win for Dundee United. I think they'll go to Dens and get the win. So, yeah, I think we'll see Dundee United's best performance of their domestic season on Sunday, and I do think it'll be quite a high-scoring game like the last derby was. I'm gonna go for 3-2 Dundee United. I think it's going to be better than the derby that goes before it.
I think, Stuart, I think this is a good time to go, actually.
I think so.
You know, because I knew you said Ethan was a decent guy and stuff like that, but your opinion might change, you know.
It's done in already, Michael. That's it. Next time the invite comes out, I'm just going to ask who's on the panel before I accept the invite. Yeah.
There you go, guys. Stuart, so we'll let you go. Have a good weekend.
Enjoy your weekend, guys.
I enjoy the match. Hopefully it goes well.
Hopefully.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
See you later.
Oh, by the way, Ethan, I said 3-0 to Dundee, and Stuart said 2-0 to Dundee.
3-0 to Dundee?
Yeah.
Alex, did you see what Ethan done this? And enjoy your weekend, mate. After saying, Dundee United's going to beat you. And then
I hope it goes well for Stuart. I hope it does, but I just think Dundee United are going to win. Unfortunately, I think the barren run without a home league win will continue.
You know how, Alex, when you're walking down the street, right, and you see a van or bus and they go, beep, 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 you know, reversing back the way. That's Ethan.
Yeah. Brilliant. That's one of the best things I've ever heard.
No, I still hope that they get the job. Actually, no. To be honest, I don't have a horse in the race. I don't really mind.
You're like Slaven Bilic. To be honest, I don't care.
Yes,
I'm only here for the banter. Let's move on, guys. I think I'll be safe to move on now. Another game on Sunday, Aberdeen against Falkirk, 3 o'clock kickoff. We done the Aberdeen game last night, Ethan, and also the Hibs game as well. And I don't know if you saw the game, Alex, but Aberdeen was a better team up until that non-penalty that they got. What was your take on the game, Alex?
I'd agree with that. I thought Aberdeen were the better side up until that terrible decision. There was a host of terrible decisions for both the clubs playing last night. Fortunately, one of them was able to get overruled by VAR because that. But Hibs didn't get the result in the end. But obviously, Junior Hoylett initially got a red card for nothing, basically. But yeah, that one last night was really harsh, I thought, on Alexander Jensen, and it was what done them in the end. I think when you go 1-0 down and then you have 10 men and you need to fight back, I just think it's not enough for you. And Aberdeen, they were done by a bit of poor refereeing, and the fact that you can't. I'll address that in a wee second, but the fact that the fact that they were that player was taken away and they were done, and the fact that VAR can't overrule it because it's a second yellow, it just really unfortunate for Aberdeen because they were the better team. Perhaps they should have been in front. I think it was Esther Sockler, with a chance early on, where he should have burst the back of the net. All he could find was the goalkeeper, but really unfortunate for Aberdeen.
Yeah, I think the worst thing about it was that you said they couldn't overturn it because of it was a yellow card, but it was the fact they went to VAR and decided it was a yellow card. It seemed like a vicious thing from the referee, a vendetta against the Scottish clubs. No, I'm not trying to start any corruption calls, but no, it was a poor decision, and even if he was going to give the penalty, he shouldn't have sent him off. I mean, I think we talk about it, and referees do as well. They should try every opportunity to keep 11 men from each team on the pitch, and that's not what the officials done because there was no need to give him a second yellow card there. And
aren't those reserved for intentional kind of handballs or handballs stopping a goal scoring opportunity or something like that?
Yeah, I think you're completely right, and that wasn't an intentional handball. It wasn't even. I don't think it should be given a handball, as I think we've all said. But if you were going to give it, then you can't send them off. It's a terrible decision and ruined Aberdeen's hopes, but they've still got a massive chance to compete in the Conference League, as Michael just throws it up there, and it's a really difficult draw for them, all considering. But some ties for them to look forward to: a trip to Cyprus, a trip to Greece, so some warm places. A trip to Prague's a nice city to go to. So yeah, they'll enjoy being there, because I think the Scottish clubs that are in outside of Celtic and Rangers, obviously only Aberdeen, unfortunately, this season, will have to relish the opportunity to be in league phase football, because it doesn't look like something that's going to be guaranteed or very realistic in the years to come, unfortunately.
Ethan, you're talking about the trips there the Aberdeen fans get to take. What about the lucky teams that get to come to the Granite City? What a day out.
Yeah, exactly that.
Aberdeen is a nice place. I've been there a couple of times, but you wouldn't exactly have it as a holiday destination, would you?
Yeah, well, exactly, but it's part of it. It's part of the game, and I think all those teams will be happy that it's Aberdeen and not Almaty, for example. It's obviously some teams in the Champions League need to travel to. But even the home games, Shakhtar Donetsk, a few seasons ago, they were a Champions League regular, and now they've dropped down to Conference League football. Racing Club Strasbourg, the byproduct of Chelsea, under the ownership of Chelsea, like a feeder club there. So yeah, that'll be another difficult game, and I think Aberdeen have been handed the toughest draw at the three teams, and it's going to be a real uphill battle for them to even make the playoffs. But you never know. They perform well against FCSB, and maybe if there isn't any stupid refereeing decisions, then they have a chance.
What was I know Alex will get Alex back in a minute or two, but what about this comment that Graham made about the Aberdeen fans must be raging about Milowski going a possible going to Rangers? It's not been confirmed yet. Even that, I think that would be a good signing for Rangers.
Yeah, it would be. He's one of those ones that they've gotten a cheat because he's went to Girona, that big money move for Aberdeen, that big sale that they were looking for under their sort of player trading model, their seller club model that all the clubs in Scotland tried to go for. And he's not done anything over there in Spain and La Liga. Girona have fallen off a cliff, really. One of Man City's clubs, actually. They've done really poor in the league last season, and Miovski's lack of goals and appearances was maybe hand in hand with that. And now he gets the chance to come back to Scotland, where he obviously flourished, the North Macedonian, and he gets a chance to play for Rangers.
Alex, I was just saying this to Ethan. Graham's asking you the question about Aberdeen fans must be raging about Milowski coming to Ibrox. It's not confirmed yet as well, but if it does go through, that would be a massive signing for Rangers.
Yeah, I think it is a good signing. He's a proven bagsman in the division. And with the fee that they're getting him for, I think it's a good fee. To bring in a player of that quality. Obviously, he's not had a very good season out in Spain, but maybe he just needs to get back to a level he's comfortable with. The Aberdeen fans will be really upset with that because Aberdeen fans hate Rangers. And I actually saw former Aberdeen defender Ash Taylor quote tweeting that report from Sky Sports with the word filth, and then he posted a bunch of photos of himself just battering into Rangers players, basically. So you can see from that as well, even ex-players are not happy with that move. But Bojan Miovski should be a good addition to the Rangers squad, and hopefully bring some goals to it.
Yeah, 51 goals and assists in 95 games for Aberdeen in his 2 seasons there. He played three games in his first season, but I'm not counting that. But yeah, only 4 goals and 24 appearances since heading to Spain. So pretty poor return for him, and he will look to come back somewhere where he knows he scored goals in the past, and that's exactly what Rangers are trying to exploit.
What about this game on Sunday then, Alex? Aberdeen against Falkirk, and I suppose Aberdeen would be just happy that it's a home game and get going in the Falkirk ski game as well, because Falkirk carry a good support. I think they might take a good support up to the old Granite City at the weekend. But what do you think of this game?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting game. It's 2 teams that maybe haven't started as well as they would like to. And I think Falkirk could pose them problems. However, Aberdeen fans and the players should be looking at this as an opportunity to get themselves going, get themselves off the mark. Because, of course, after they postponed that game at the weekend, they still sit on 0 points after their 2 opening games. So, yeah, I think for them going into the international break, after a disappointing result in Europe, it needs to be a win.
Yeah, it does, and that's what Paul Donaldson, the regular viewer and Aberdeen fan, who's always popping in. I don't know if he's in just now. He said he was going after we were speaking about the Glasgow clubs. But yeah, he made that exact point that they need to get a win because at home to Falkirk, one of the newly promoted teams, you would expect to win if you're Aberdeen, and Jimmy Tilleen's is under pressure because the start to the season's been poor results-wise and the most part performance-wise. It was a poor end to last season, barring the obvious Scottish Cup victory. So, yeah, he needs to start getting some consistent results, especially in the league, and climb up that table. And there's no better chance to do that, really, than at home to a Falkirk side who are struggling, as maybe you would expect, coming up into a new league off the back of 2 consecutive promotions under John McGlynn.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm quite happy to see Falkirk in the division because they're a good football team, good manager, but good support. Alex as well, and I think we spoke about it on the show last season. I can't remember, but it's good to pick that it's not got all 4 sides of the stadium with stands at the moment, because that would be a cracking atmosphere.
Yeah, definitely. It is a really nice stadium, though. If you've ever been there, I've had the pleasure of being there a couple of times. Once in the away end as a Hamilton Accies supporter, the second time in the press box. So 2 very different times that I've been there, but it is a really nice stadium, and the sun hits it really well as well. So if you built another stand, you might not be able to get that. but I think I mentioned it though. I think it is pretty cool though, because the other side of the stadium, you've got where the stand would be. You've got a few AstroTurf pitches, and you're in watching the game. But you can also see across the way there's some kids in there playing football, maybe trying to jump and see what's happening in the game. So I think that adds to it as well, a nice sense of community, but it is a nice stadium.
Yeah, I don't know the exact details. I've never actually been to the stadium. I've not had the pleasure like Alex has, but from looking at it on telly from the opening game of the season, it looks like a great atmosphere, and they'll be a great club to have back in the top division. They obviously carry a big support, and I believe they've sold around 6,000 season tickets, which is a remarkable achievement. And maybe if they did build an extra stand, they could sell more, because I think 6,000. I'm not picking on this club. I know there's probably other clubs in the league they've outsold in season tickets, but they outsold Kilmarnock, for example, in season ticket sales. So yeah, a massive club, Falkirk, and it's great to have them back in the Premiership, and their ground creates a really nice atmosphere. Obviously, they won't be at home this week, but they'll expect to bounce back, because it's been a disappointing couple of weeks after the okay start against Dundee United. They obviously lost to Livingston in quite embarrassing fashion away from home, and then were beaten comfortably by Celtic at Celtic Park in the Premier Sports Cup. No real shame in that, but John McGlynn will look for them to bounce back, and against a little bit of a shaky Aberdeen team, there's definitely an opportunity there for them.
Right, so Alex, that gives me and yourself an opportunity here, right? So Ethan's never been to Falkirk, right? So I've got a wee idea that the next time Falkirk plays Dundee, we should actually arrange for Stuart to get Ethan a ticket in the away end to support Dundee for these 90 minutes. What about that, Ethan?
Yeah, I'll take that. If I get to go at a game, and I'll take that if I'm free. Yeah.
But you better support Dundee that day, because obviously you've annoyed Stuart a wee bit as well on the show tonight. So you can kiss and make up with him that day if you can make it happen as well. So that's something for me and Alex to do as well. Get you a ticket for that one. By the way, if you're watching, I'm only being funny, by the way, just in case, because people actually takes it seriously what people say on YouTube as well. But no, it's only a bit of banter, as I say, in Scotland. Let's move on to the game at Easter Road, Hibs against St Mirren. Ethan, another game that we covered last night. That was why that we come on a bit late, because Hibs took it to extra time and nearly took it to penalties, actually. Unlucky. I mean, I think we were saying on the show last night that I know this is a bit silly me saying this because Hibs are out now, but they could hold their heads up high this week.
Yeah.
And that's including Celtic and Rangers.
Yeah, exactly. They're the one team that can come out of this and be proud of their performances across not just this round, but across the 3 rounds they've played in. They've had really difficult opponents. They battled well, fell on the wrong side of some fine margins against Midtjylland, the right side of some fine margins against Partizan Belgrade, and they fall the wrong side of some fine margins again against Legia Warsaw and Poland. But yeah, the fans gave them a brilliant reception at full time to show the testament to the players and how well they performed. So yeah, I think Hibs have been really good this season. I think me and Alex were discussing earlier that of the fan bases in Scottish football, they'll probably be right up there at the moment with how well their teams played, with Celtic and Rangers not really pleasing the fans. Hearts started the season well and have done well in the league, but obviously drop out the League Cup. So yeah, I think Hibs is one of the real feel-good factors in the league, and they'll take a lot of confidence from their performances this season, because I don't think they've really played badly in any of the games, and they'll be confident they can get back to winning ways at home to St Mirren, but not an easy game, and they carry that European hangover threat.
Alex?
Yeah, I'd agree. Sorry, Michael. I'm just saying, yeah, I'd agree with what most of what Ethan has said. And you know, throughout the season as well, during that European run, and all their positive performances, I think me and Ethan have perhaps been a wee bit sour on them. I think as a whole, we've maybe not backed them fully as much as we maybe should have, and they've. I know Ethan was a bit more positive on them than I was for some matches, but I think as a whole we doubted them in almost every single tie they get drawn up against in the difficult ones, and they went toe to toe with each team. And this game on Sunday will be a really Saturday will be a really difficult game.
Sunday.
Sorry, I got it right the first time. But this game on Sunday will be a really difficult game for them. But I'd back them, and this is a really big call from me so early in the season. But if I was a Hibs fan, I'd be looking at the League Cup and going, I fancy it here, because I think although Celtic are probably better than them right now, I think in a one-off match they could take them on. Obviously, they've got Rangers at Ibrox in the next round. If I was a Hibs fan, I'd be fancying my chances going up against this current Rangers side. So I think the League Cup's a possibility for them this season, and hopefully a win today. Oh God, I'm all over the place here.
Monday.
Hopefully a win on Sunday can set them up nicely for into the international break. But I'm sure Stephen Robinson and St Mirren will have something to say about that.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a good game. And I said to Ethan last night that I'm sure St Mirren. Did you say Hibs never picked up a point against them last season? Ethan was.
No, I don't think it was they didn't pick up a point, but they didn't. Don't think they ever beat St Mirren, Hibs, or there was that. I don't think they beat them across the course of the season, and that was one of St Mirren's bragging points because Hibs went on that brilliant run and beat everyone, including Celtic and Rangers and Dundee United and Aberdeen and Hearts. So, yeah. So St Mirren have proved, it's a good point you make, Michael. They've proven that they're a difficult team for David Gray's team to go up against. I think Stephen Robinson's team's a difficult team for anybody to go up against, and I think we'll have Hibs as favourites, and rightfully so, because of the quality they've brought in, the quality they've shown this season. But there's no reason why St Mirren can't go to Easter Road and cause an upset, and I think it'll be a really entertaining game on Sunday.
It's going to be an interesting game as well, because for the concept of Hibs has had a difficult game last night travelling home in the extra time as well. St Mirren's had a free week, but also they had that brilliant performance against Rangers, especially in the first half, Alex, as well. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how these two teams cope on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's organisation and, you know, a really sort of powerful team in St Mirren coming up against a blistering attack. So I think it'll be. Oh gosh, I don't know what's happened to me in the last 10 minutes. I've completely crashed.
Podcast fatigue.
I know. Well, yeah, me and Ethan were recording earlier today, Michael, for over 2 hours. So I think that might be why I'm crashing here. But no, it will be a tight match, I think. And yeah. Oh gosh, I've completely lost it. Ethan, do you just want to take this off my hands?
What were you speaking about?
It's Johnson against Dumbarton. We were talking about. Ethan. Yeah.
What? Johnson and Dumbarton?
No. It's good because you forgot what we were talking about there as well. So I thought, well, I'll make it.
Dumbarton would beat St Johnstone out a contest, so we wouldn't even need to talk about that match.
A local boy from Dumbarton there.
Yeah, well, that's the championship winners and League Two winners for this season. So, yeah. You heard it here first.
What's your prediction for this game, Ethan? Hibs against St Mirren?
I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for the Highbees.
2-1. Alex?
I'm going to go with 2-0 to Hibs.
2-0 to Hibs. Okay, let's move on to... in fact, let's move back to tomorrow then. It is going to be... I don't know about Graham in the chat, right, and I don't know about you guys, right, but I always put this one down as a local derby. I don't know why. Livingston against Hearts.
Yeah, kind of.
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, yeah, they aren't far away from each other, but the way, if I... I think that's the worst insult I've ever received, but getting compared to Russell Martin, they're not far away from each other, Livingston and Hibs, and Hibs. Oh my god!
Yeah, no. So that's all for the show this week.
Graham, I'm sorry. I've just called you your mortal enemies. Hearts and Livingston and Hearts. It's kind of a local derby. For this game, though, I don't think it'll be as tight as the other game. I think Hearts, if they can learn to defend and start the way they finished the last half an hour of the Motherwell game last week, it should be fairly comfortable for them. Yeah,
I agree. I think Hearts are favourites for this one. Livingston didn't offer almost anything in an attacking sense at Celtic Park last week, and that's obviously completely different to a home match against Hearts. But I think Hearts will have too much on the day. Massive travelling support, as Graham put in the chat. 5k fans is absolutely brilliant, and it'll be good to see the Livingston Stadium getting filled, because it's not really often that they get a big attendance, and that's what David Martindale's saying. Just getting as many fans as they can will help them financially. And he said last week after the Celtic game that he's just looking forward to every game as it comes. He's not worrying about it. He's just looking forward to the challenges of being back in the Premiership, and I think that's a really good way to look at things. And Graham's put in the chat there about them breaking their record transfer fee following in Hibs' footsteps this summer, and I believe Aberdeen have also spent a 7-figure fee on a player as well. So it shows the intent of the three big clubs below Celtic and Rangers in the Scottish Premiership that are really trying to close that gap or have the best chance at getting third. I can't say I know much about the Brazilian that signed for Hearts. I did see that earlier today, and I'm sure he'll be exciting.
Well, that's funny, Ethan, because you don't even watch the content associated with your own podcast. That's really nice. Because I actually
when was that? What TikTok was that? And then
this morning's one, I posted it.
I haven't watched this morning's one yet, so.
Brazilian midfielder Agu, I'm going to pronounce it like that, joins Hearts from Santa Clara. Who doesn't love a Brazilian? He joins from Santa Clara on a 4-year deal.
I'm not going to comment on that one, Graham.
So is that what you know, Alex, that he comes from Santa Clara?
Yeah, he's a. Well, what else?
No, I know, but that's kind of what I meant when I said I didn't know much about him. I don't know what kind of player he is. I didn't know he came from Santa Clara, to be fair. So
he's a midfielder, mate.
Yeah, I know he's a midfielder. I can read. But no, who doesn't love a Brazilian? Graham's right, and I'm hopefully he brings that sort of flair to the.
Ethan's having some show tonight, isn't he, Alex? From Dundee to a Brazilian, and stuff like that. And there's a lot of comments I can make there, guys, but I can't.
No, but I think touching back on this game at Livingston, I think Hearts will get the win, and I think it'll probably be Kieran Bowie that gets the only goal of the game.
Alex,
he's just
Jack and Victor, maybe. Game.
No, I tried to let that go. I think did that go over both of your heads? What I said?
No, I got that. That's why I was laughing at you.
I missed that one, even. I'm a bit deaf, so yeah.
No, I said Kieran Bowie would score the only goal for Hearts, obviously a Hibs player. Taking a leaf out of Alex's book there, no, but I think Hearts will win the game by the odd goal. I don't think it'll be a pretty performance on that surface, which is better than the surface of old, but yeah, I think Hearts will get the job done, but I don't think it'll be comfortable, and it really is at the Setfair Stadium, is it? I want to say.
Can we just call it the Spaghetti Had forever, even though they're not even associated with Tony Macaroni anymore? Because that was one of the best names of all time. So I'll go with a 2-0 win for Hearts at the Spaghetti Had.
They might be coming back from more of a hungry, but anyway, sorry about that joke. So let's but before we move on, I was going to say, I know that we were talking about Skiggums as well, and the Falkirk Skiggums nice, Alex, as well, but Livingston Skiggums nice, it's only a pity, it's only full when Celtic and Rangers and, of course, Hearts go in and sell it out.
Well, I've never been, so I can't possibly comment on that one. But
okay, big build up.
I'd imagine it is a nice ground, and it is a shame when you see the empty stands, because the Livingston fans that do go do create a decent atmosphere. Especially you could hear them in that playoff last season. Unfortunately, a supporter was seen spitting at, I think it might have been Don Kenny. So that wasn't great, but not a ringing endorsement exactly for the Livingston supporters. But yeah, it is a shame that you don't see the stadium full of Livingston fans often.
Let's speak about the game, the last game tomorrow, and I think it's a pity that the Celtic Rangers game is going to take preference over all the games, and then the Dundee derby, because the last game, Motherwell against Kilmarnock, Ethan, it's the game of the weekend for me.
Yeah, Motherwell, the team to watch at the minute. Apparently, I haven't had the pleasure of seeing James Beff-Velasquez ball in full flow, but apparently last week at Tynecastle, it produced one of the best away performances that the Hearts fans have seen for years, and they obviously impressed on the opening evening against Rangers. So yeah, I think they're in a really good position. The fans are really happy with what they're seeing on the pitch, and despite them picking up 3 points from 3 games, no wins yet, apart from that League Cup triumph over St Johnstone, they'll expect to beat Kilmarnock at home. Kilmarnock, who have had an okay start to the season. It's not been perfect, but I think the Kilmarnock fans will also be happy and confident going to Fir Park. But I do see Motherwell taking the win there.
Well, Motherwell will be hoping to play very Motherwell, and Kilmarnock will be hoping to play very Kettlewell.
Nah. Yeah, okay.
But I think I'd agree with most of what Ethan said. I think Motherwell will get the win in this game. Kilmarnock fans, I think, would be optimistic going away to try and get something. Obviously, Stuart Kettlewell returning for the first time, I believe. So it should be an interesting game. But I think this is the game where Motherwell finally do get that first win in the season that I think has been coming. They should have beat Rangers. Despite our mates Ryan's protests, I think they should have beat St Mirren, and they should have beat Hearts last week. So I think they will get the win, and I'll just fire out my prediction now. I'll go 3-1 to the Steelmen.
I think that if Russell Martin's mum had a second team in Scotland, it would have been Motherwell. Sorry, Alex, I just had to get that in there. Ethan, what about you?
I'm going to go, this is a little bit bold, I'm going to go with a 4-0 win for Motherwell. I think they will thrash Kilmarnock and really put down a marker as to their aspirations for top 6 this season. And yeah, I think the Stuart Kettlewell's return to Fir Park will not be a pleasant one. And is this class as a derby as well?
Stuart Kettlewell's return won't go very Kettlewell.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's twice you used it now.
Yeah, okay.
Is this classed as a derby as well? Is this classed as a derby as well?
What, the Wild Derby?
No, Motherwell v Kilmarnock.
I don't.
As in Stuart Kettlewell?
No, I'm pretty sure I've heard people before saying this is
a derby.
Some sort of derby.
No,
even though they're like quite a bit away from each other. But
Ethan, I've made some of the worst jokes, and somehow you've lost the podcast on that comment.
Right?
Ethan,
okay.
You're having a brilliant show, mate, from Dundee to this. It's
Brazil, from Dundee to Brazil to a derby for Motherwell and Kilmarnock.
Maybe Hill, Petershill, and all that kind of stuff. So Motherwell against Kilmarnock. No, I don't think it is. Maybe no. I was trying to make a case for you, Ethan, but I can't defend you in this occasion, mate. I'm sorry. So that's Motherwell against Motherwell against Kilmarnock tomorrow as well. Let's dive into the
Oh
championship.
yeah, I found something.
There you go.
It's the Kevin Van Veen derby.
You could just call it the Stuart Kettlewell derby.
No, I was looking for maybe someone that said it was some sort of derby because the Kilmarnock, their actual rivals or derby rivals haven't been in obviously the top league for a while here. United and neither of Motherwell's now in Hamilton. So yeah, but nothing on that. I was just talking nonsense, so I do apologise.
Okay, let's move into the championship very swiftly. We move on. It's a no game tonight, guys, because believe it or not, it's the second round of the Scottish Cup tonight. Who knew that? A blow against Ayr Grey, Ayr United against Queen's Park, Dunfermline against Ross County, Packet Thistle against Raith Rovers, and St Mirren against Morton. Pick your games, guys, of the weekend.
Did you say St Mirren?
Are you just trying to get me back, mate, Ethan?
No, I think
you said St Mirren.
Did you? Right, okay. What game did you say they were playing? St Mirren against
St John's. You said St Mirren instead of St Johnston. It's an easy mistake to make. At least you're not offending anyone like Alex would have done. So
yeah, well.
Well, Michael's had a couple of things like that. He called Dundee United last week.
I have, yeah. I also said something else as well. It was wide of the mark, but anyway. So
Marchi was Galatasaray.
That's right. That's right. You know how when you get one person kind of ganging up on you, but two's even worse. So, but I can take it. Going back to the football. Get me a rope and get me out of here. And the championship games, pick a game this weekend, guys.
My pick of the weekend is is Partick Thistle versus Raith Rovers. I think that's going to be a really exciting game, full of goals. That's probably my pick of the bunch.
Yeah, I'd agree with Alex. I think that's the big game. Raith have started the season really well, surprising a lot of people, including myself. And Partick Thistle are mid-table, but they seem on the up under. What's his name? Why is his name? Mark Wilson. That's his name.
Matt Wilson. Yeah.
I thought you just froze for a minute there.
No, I just forgot Mark Wilson's name for a second there. Been a long day. I apologise to the viewers for my performance today. It's been wide of the mark.
Yeah, and this last half hour or so is just descended in the absolute.
Yeah. So St Mirren against Morton tomorrow, guys. What do you think the score will be in that one? No, just a bit of banter, as I say. My pick of the game in the championship might be, I might go for Mark Wilson's Packet Thistle against Raith Rovers, and that game that for Hill for thrills. So there you go. That's the football of the weekend. Right, now for something completely a wee bit different. Sometimes on the show we always talk about different levels of football, whether it's disability football, women's football, youth football. But there's a big game come up on Sunday. It is the Scotland transplant football team, and they're playing against London at the weekend. They're playing on Sunday. That the game is, and Ethan went along. Well, we never went along. He spoke to him on here. He went to speak to the manager Duncan of the team that Duncan actually founded the football team. So we're going to have the interview now, and we're going to come back and see and tell you how you can get involved and go and see the game on Sunday. So here's Ethan's chat with Duncan as he spoke about the game.
Okay, hopefully.
Yeah, so first of all, Duncan, tell us a bit about yourself for maybe anyone that doesn't know, and what your role is as the coach of the team, and what the team sort of represents.
Yeah, as I say, Ethan, nice to meet you. I'm Duncan McCauley, following a heart transplant. I realised very quickly that I had an opportunity to help others to recover from what is major surgery. As I say, receiving a transplant is very much something which is a last resort in terms of the medical profession. And really, it was a case as I quickly realised that there must be lots of players out there who are looking for a second chance. Those who played in their youth, who were prevented from playing, and ended up, being very sick indeed. And this, through an organ transplant, is given the opportunity to play football again and to actively participate in sport. And that was really one of the objectives of this. And really, I was looking at a few things to see how I could possibly do that, how I could help others. And one of the things I quickly realised, there was not a Scotland transplant football team. So very quickly, I approached the bodies, Transplant Sport UK, really to understand, was this actually the case, and why had nobody in Scotland ever done this? And again, around a year ago, September last year, we finally formed a team with a little Facebook page. It was really as low budget as that, let's be honest, just to see, was anybody interested in this? I felt as though, even if we got sort of 60 people was really obviously the main objective. Could we get them moving forward, and could we encourage them to promote organ donation, to do something for their donors, which is a key thing when you've been as lucky as we have. It's an important thing that we want to do in every game we play.
On you go.
As I say, initially we had our first friendly, and then all of a sudden there was the European Transplant Championship, which was down in Oxford. We were probably, in fairness, probably one of the older teams there, and we performed quite well, certainly beating Ireland, lost to Wales, had a very, very exciting 4-4 draw with Spain, and losing narrowly to Italy. By the final game, we almost ran out of steam, and we were kind of struggling a little bit to keep people fit and to keep them moving forward. But as I say, the teams performed well, given that initial period, and certainly it's very encouraging for us for the future.
Yeah, and obviously, I think football is a sport like no other that just brings people together in such beautiful ways. But you said that there would be people out there that were looking to get that sort of second chance and raise awareness. Was it difficult when you first initially started it in September to get the players, or was it quite an easy process? And obviously, the massive achievement of going to the European Championships less than a year after the team was founded.
We have found player recruitment difficult, perhaps because people have been unwell for so long. They perhaps even get that mindset to say, well, this isn't for me. Maybe I haven't got that level of fitness. But we're really looking to take people with all levels of fitness and really encourage them and build their skills and that fitness levels to move forward. But as I say, initially, it was very, very difficult to get people on board. We got them kind of dribs and drabs. I think at our first training session, I think we had something like 7 players. We encouraged family and friends to come along. Again, it was a really, really good event. But the fact is, it was more about, let's get the families involved. Let's get people, who have supported us through our transplants. And we obviously have to do that. And that's one of the big things that we're aiming to do in the game against London at Bells Hill on Sunday.
Yeah, and what was the just going back to the championships earlier in the year? What was it like to actually be there, and did it feel like you had really made it in what you were trying to do of really making it and being a successful example of the first transplant team from Scotland?
For me, I actually felt that was a little bit early for us, but certainly our performance exceeded my own expectations, and a lot of credit to our coach Johnny Fallon, the way he drilled the team and managed to get them fit and moving forward. We were very lucky with the group of players that we'd got, but as I say, we really didn't have that to any sort of strength and depth really at the European Championship, right? And it did cost us. But certainly the pride that every member of that team had in representing Scotland on the European stage was quite incredible. And it's something we'll never, ever forget. And I'm very, very proud of the way everyone performed. For me, it will be a massive highlight, no matter what comes next.
Yeah. Obviously, England won that tournament, and England, Chile won the sort of inaugural World Cup the year before in Italy. And I know the World Transplant Games have just concluded there, but is there any other sort of tournaments on the horizon that you know about and where they might be held?
There's likely to be the World Cup next year. Again, we're not quite sure who's building that. We are also working on the potential of maybe a Four Nations event. Again, very early days, but we're very, very keen to bring the England, Ireland, or Northern Ireland and Wales teams to Scotland. As I say, I think that would be very special for us, particularly because we are the new team, we are the new guys on the block, but we're very keen to make our mark on the European and world stage.
Yeah, and I was going to ask actually about how you sort of keep the team busy in between these tournaments, and obviously as you know, that there's the friendly on Sunday against England, is it in England?
It's against London United Transplant Football. Again, they're a very, very good team. They performed very well against the winners of the British Transplant Games, Birmingham. Really, we're trying to get as many games as we can against similar transplant football teams. But I think London will be a very good test for us, and understand that they're very strong defensively, and that we're perhaps a little bit unlucky against Birmingham at the British Transplant Games.
Yeah, and is that something that hopefully the Scottish teams inspired in this country, that we see a bit more teams for cities, for example, like a London or a Birmingham or maybe a Glasgow in the future, something like that?
Very much so. I think that's really what we need to be able to develop that bigger player base and to have a greater level of selection. That has to be key for us. I would personally like to see Glasgow, Edinburgh, but I would also like to see Aberdeen, Dundee, and also my hometown of Inverness involved in it. Also, I think that's the key thing for us moving forward, that we have that all-inclusivity, that we get everybody involved in this, that they have a transplant and they basically realise, hang on, we have a second chance. Let's embrace this wholeheartedly. Let's do everything we can. And certainly from the team, it's fantastic seeing the spirit and how much they've actually enjoyed it and the difference it's made to them, since joining the team. And if we could do that across Scotland with many other teams, and to be able to be far more competitive, as I say, England have a much greater player base. We're quite limited at the moment in what we could choose, and it does show from it. And ultimately, to be at that level, we need that supporting infrastructure around us. That has to be key for us moving forward.
Yeah, and hopefully that becomes the case. Yeah. Obviously, we're all very early on in the sort of development of this in Scotland, as you mentioned. I think you probably summed it up already, but if you could just sum it up in a few words for the last question, what is the sort of most rewarding aspect of what you've done and being part of the history, really?
For me, the most rewarding thing is seeing people come along on the first day of training. You see them, they're possibly lacking in confidence, You see them where, their fitness, they're perhaps struggling, bearing in mind they've just been through major surgery. And for me, the key thing is seeing them develop, seeing them actually come out of their shell, seeing them bond as a team moving forward. That for me has been the highlight of this whole process. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the players that we'll bring through in the future as we move things forward. And ideally, a number of teams throughout Scotland, would be an incredible achievement.
Yeah, exactly that. And thanks very much for your time, Duncan. Good luck on Sunday, and good luck on everything to do with transplant football in the future. And I'll be keeping an eye on it.
Pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
There we go. That was Duncan talking to Ethan yesterday. And here's details of the game actually if you want to go on Sunday. It's Petershill Park. They're playing against London. Do you guys not love a game against Scotland and England? But it's a good cause on Sunday. The kickoff time is at 2:00. So you can watch the Old Firm game, and then you can hop on a bus or hop on a car or whatever and go to Bells Hill. There's not tickets, but you can pay what you will at the door, a donation, and the raffles and stuff of that. If you want more information, all you have to do is go into the old social media and look for Scottish Transplant Football Team and give Duncan and the guys a follow on there as well. Ethan, it's always good doing a show like this because we always talk about football and we always have a laugh and a bit of banter, as they say, but sometimes there's actually brilliant work going on outside of the kind of like fishbowl, as it were, of the Premiership, and it gets a bit missing in terms of like at the moment, like the Homeless World Cup in Norway. I think it's is it Derek Ferguson is the manager of the is the manager of that team, and it's brilliant to see. So, but it's just brilliant to see that football brings everybody together, no matter what your ability is or how old you are and whatever. If you're a man or a woman or whatever, it just brings people together, and you forget about these kind of like different issues and just play a game of football.
Yeah, and that's that. And football's the world sport. Everyone should have the chance, and that's what we're seeing. Everyone, we're getting to the point where more and more people, no matter what's happened to you in life, maybe something you were born with at birth, that means that in the past maybe football you couldn't have played it, but they're just opening up more and more avenues for everyone to be able to compete in the world's most beautiful sport. And it was really interesting to speak to Duncan about the transplant team, because it's something that before speaking to him I didn't know too much about, and I certainly wasn't too aware of, but having spoken to him, then I'll keep up now, and hopefully they get the result on Sunday, and we see more Scottish teams popping up over the next few years.
And that's a thing, Alex, because when you do shows like this, as I said, you forget that there's other football out there apart from Celtic and Rangers and whatever, and no matter what your ability is. And I was the same as Ethan up until maybe couple of months ago. I didn't realise that there was a sort of football team for people with transplants and other kind of like impairments as well. So it's good to see.
Yeah, definitely. And like Ethan said, football's the world sport. It is for everyone, and it is really good to see everyone getting involved. I mean, Ethan, I've got a good mate from uni who's involved in wheelchair football. He plays for Scotland, I think. And there's a guy from I used to work in a pub there's a regular from the pub. He's in his 80s and he plays in a walking football league. So, it's it is for everyone, and I'm glad there's more and more opportunities popping up for different people from different walks of life. And I'll be honest as well, until today, I didn't know much. I didn't even know there was a transplant team. So after that cracking interview, I'll definitely be keeping an eye on that as well.
There you go. One more time if you want to go down on Sunday. That's the details there. 2:00 kickoff. Pay what you want, a donation at the gate. Thanks to Ethan, thanks to Alex, and thanks to Stuart for joining us. We'll be back on Sunday to look across the Old Firm game and the updates from the El Clasico in Dundee between Dundee and Dundee United, and Ethan might wear a Dundee scarf on Sunday as well. We'll see how it goes. Enjoy your weekend.
You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.